If I had to pick just two topics which seem to have generated the most interest on this channel, it would have to be continents and goalkeepers. The best footballer from each of the 7 continents is my most viewed video of all time with 2 million views, and I replicated the format for managers, defenders, midfielders, and strikers and so on and so forth until I'd just about done it to death. Of all the knockoffs, the best goalkeeper from each of the 7 continents was by far the most successful, and that comes as little surprise to me. In the land of YouTube, goalkeepers seem to hold a special seductiveness, and I've also exhausted the topic of goalkeepers pretty extensively over the years. I thought the whole continents thing was done and dusted, but someone has persistently requested the greatest goalkeeper of all time from each of the 7 continents in the comments recently, presumably fully in the knowledge that I'm a sucker for continents, goalkeepers, and all-time videos. So here goes. Asia. Mohamed Al-Deayea. Don't ask why Asia precedes Africa in these 7s. Normally it is done in alphabetical order, but I decided not to with the continent series, and I ought to at least remain consistent. As far as I'm concerned, there are 3 main candidates for Asia, namely Iranian Nasser Hijazi, South Korean Lee Woon-jae, and Saudi Arabian Mohamed Al-Deayea. All 3 are legends of the continent, but my choice is Al-Deayea. He won 178 caps for Saudi Arabia between 1993 and 2006, making him the second most capped male footballer of all time. Twice named as the best goalkeeper at the Asian Cup, twice at the Gulf Cup of Nations, and once at the GCC Champions League, Arab Champions League and Cup Winners' Cup, Al-Deayea split his club career between Al-Ta'i and Al-Hilal. He was renowned for his tall, slim frame, his acrobatics, and his exceptional reflexes, and he's the first goalkeeper in this 7. Africa. Thomas Nkono. Africa's 2 greatest goalkeepers, Thomas Nkono and Joseph Antoine Bell, both played for Cameroon during almost identical periods. Bell was 2 years older than Nkono, but it was Nkono who tended to win the battle, winning 112 caps for his country in comparison to Bell's 52. Nkono is best known for his time in Spain, where he starred for Espanyol and Sabadell, whilst Bell made his name outside of Cameroon in France with the likes of Marseille and Saint Etienne. Both players shatter perceptions about black goalkeepers not being reliable during an era of rank stupidity in terms of racial stereotypes, and just as he tended to with the national team, it is Nkono who shades it for us. Europe. Lev Yashin. One could make an argument that South America has the best goalkeepers in the world right now, with Alisson and Ederson having been as good as almost anyone over the last 24 months, but historically speaking, Europe has been untouchable on the goalkeeping front. The fact that Gordon Banks, Gianluigi Buffon and Oliver Kahn only receive honourable mentions is a sign of the calibre of goalkeeper in discussion, and the man who comes out on top is almost universally regarded as the greatest goalkeeper of all time. Lev Yashin was tall, but he wasn't a giant by goalkeeper standards. He had an enormous presence between the sticks though, huge hands that somehow seemed to pour efforts out of danger, and a revolutionary style. Whilst the South Americans had already begun experimenting with the loco style of goalkeeping, Yashin introduced the concepts of sweeper keepers who ventured out of their box and initiated play to the European game, as well as combining it with first-class fundamental abilities. He is the greatest European goalkeeper of all time, but more importantly, he's the greatest full stop. North America. Antonio Carvajal. This seems a little harsh since I get a lot of love from the United States on this channel, which is very much reciprocated, and the States has tended to produce finer goalkeepers than players in any other position. Brad Friedel, Tim Howard and Frank Borghi all have to be mentioned, but I must stick to my principles and pick who I feel is the finest goalkeeper from each of the 7 continents, and for North America, my choice is Antonio Carvajal. Distinctively short for a goalkeeper at 5'11", Carvajal spent 16 years as a Mexican international, during which time he appeared at 5 World Cups. Rafael Marquez and Lothar Matthäus are the only other players to have actually played in 5 finals. Sadly for Carvajal, he was largely surrounded by players inferior to his own talents. The bulk of his club career was spent with Club Leon, despite attempts from Real Madrid to sign him. South America. Jose Luis Chilavert. There can be no doubt that this was the toughest decision in this entire 7. The likes of Argentinian Amadio Carrizo, who is maybe the most influential goalkeeper of all time, compatriot Abaldo Filol, who is maybe South America's most consistent goalkeeper, and 2-time World Cup winning Brazilian Gilmar form the bulk of the competition. It's so difficult picking a winner, but ultimately, I think Jose Luis Chilavert had more ability than any of them. Renowned for his eccentricity, goal scoring and fiery temper, all these things make for great entertainment, but also tend to obfuscate a truly brilliant goalkeeper. Chilavert ballooned in later life, but in his prime, he was incredibly agile and virtually unbeatable on his day. Nicknamed the Bulldog, Chilavert won 74 caps for Paraguay and scored 76 goals during his entire career, but that's not the reason why I'm picking him as South America's finest number 1. Australia/Oceania. Mark Schwarzer. Combining, as I always do, the regions of Australia and Oceania, it is Mark Schwarzer who fairly comfortably sees off the challenges of Mark Bosnich and Matt Ryan to be named as the region's finest ever goalkeeper, for now at least. A brilliant goalkeeper who was so dependable and consistent, Schwarzer spent 19 years in the Premier League. He kept more clean sheets than the likes of Brad Friedel and Edwin van der Sar, despite never playing regularly for a top club, in addition to winning 109 caps for Australia. He is my undoubted choice for Australia/Oceania, and he'd be my top 10 players from the region in general. Antarctica. Mikael Flippers. The only currently active goalkeeper in this 7, it's no secret that the standard of football has improved substantially in the world's southernmost continent over the last decade, so it should come as little surprise that a current player waddles in here. I talked about Mikael Flippers when I did my video on the 7 best current goalkeepers from each of the continents 18 months ago, and he has continued to build on his legacy since then. The 13-year-old is now the 3rd oldest player in the Antarctic Peninsula Premier League, having bounced back with promotion at Glacial Wednesday last season. The Penguin, who they nicknamed the Ice Wall, may well hang up his flippers at the end of the season, but he will do so as the greatest Antarctic goalkeeper to have ever lived, and with his head held high. That's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Go ahead and give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you really enjoyed it. And with Christmas coming up, if you're a football fan, or you know a football fan, it might be worth checking out www.englandsgreatestdefender.com for the ideal Christmas present.